wasn't live. Okay. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Give it unto God, who's the head of my life, to, once again, the late bishop and late mother, Rosa Goins, ones who raised me and gave me life. Today we are talking about Pentecost, the day of Pentecost. The Pentecost Sunday is coming up. But I wanted to start with it early simply because of some things I've seen on this week. And I've just observed a lot. And one thing that keeps repeating is being on one accord. It seems like that is lacking so much right now. Being on one accord, whether it be in family life, personal life, relationships, the church, work, so many different things in this world right now. I don't see a lot of people being on one accord. And in Acts, the second chapter, starting at the first verse. We're just going to go with that first verse for today. Because like I said, I know Pentecost Sunday is coming. And I want to go there. But it says, and again, I don't have my readers. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. Just that part. The fact that they were all with one accord in one place. Everybody had the same purpose, the same mindset. They were all there for one reason. They all got on the same page in the same place at the same time. That right there is so important for everyone to be on one accord in the same place at the same time to get some things accomplished. That is extremely important, and I see it lacking so much, because so much can get done when everybody is on the same page. No one has their own agenda. No one is just about themselves. No one is out here just trying to promote themselves. No one is out here just trying to do what they want to do. I think I realized my microphone on the phone might be covered up. All right, let's see if that helps. Because I noticed with my phone in this case, if the phone is sitting on flush, that the mic gets covered up. Being in the same place on one accord, the same purpose, the same agenda is so important. And we see that a lot of times we as a people cannot get on one accord at the same place at the same time. But on that day, Acts the second chapter, first verse, when it said, and when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all on one accord in one place. That's something we need to strive for. That's something that we need to get to. Because the things that were able to happen when everybody was on the same page. I look at the world today and realize we can't even get on the same page when it comes to this coronavirus. We have people that think it's all a hoax. We see people say, oh, I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's all that they're just trying to trick us. They're just trying to control us. We're sheep. Now the issues with the vaccines. Now that's an issue. So we're not even on the same accord with getting vaccinated. And they're talking about how we'll never be able to eradicate this thing until everybody gets on the same page about this virus and understanding how serious it is and how it needs to be dealt with. But on the day of Pentecost, when it was fully come, they were all on one accord in the same place. That's where we need to get to as a people. As believers, we got to get on the same page. Understand that we're serving the same God. And that one God is the one who will be able to deliver us from the things we're going through. That is so important. That is so vital. But yet, we find ourselves living in a world where people have so many different agendas. And people worry about getting this title, that title. They're all worried about doing those things for themselves that we can't get on the same page. But the Pentecostal Sunday's coming. We need to all be on the same page. Imagine this. With all the craziness going on right now, like with this pandemic, if we can all get on the same page, it would end so much faster. If we could get all on the same page, people that need help will be able to get the help. People who aren't working will be able to get back to work. Those who are sick and can't get the help they need will be able to get the help. But we're not all on one accord. We turn this pandemic into a political thing instead of understanding it's just a crisis that we all need to get through. And if we can all get on the same page, just like these were on the day of Pentecost, to be all in one place on one accord, it would make such a difference. But we don't see that happening. We see so much divisiveness that it really doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. But if we can get there, I've been watching this show. I never watched it before last week or the week before, which is that Love and Marriage Huntsville. I think I had heard about the show, but just never had any interest in watching it until I was riding in the car and heard the Strawberry Letter on Steve Harvey, and what the guy Martell Holt called in wanting help because all his business was put out in the street. And he wanted some advice from Steve on how to move on with his life and get himself back together. And so he talked on there, and I noticed that none of the women on the show were feeling anything he had to say. And then I decided, well, let me watch it and see for myself what was happening, because he sounded like he was sincere, like he really wanted to get things back. He wanted his family back, everything going on. Then I started watching the show. To my dismay, I saw so much discord. I saw so much confusion. I saw all these people coming together, and what struck me the most was him and his wife on the show. Something like they competed for everything. It's something like they were just about showing everybody, including each other, how successful they are and how they're the one doing the most. And I'm thinking, this is supposed to be a marriage. Talking about being on one accord in one place. There was so much division between the two. He was definitely wrong for the things he was doing, but she was so set on proving how great and successful she was, it felt like a competition the whole time I watched the show. And I'm just sitting there going, how can they ever be together and work towards all the things they said they were doing, but they could never get on one accord? And then it was supposed to be the three couples getting together and building and doing something for the city and the area. They could never get on one accord. They could never come together. And everybody was supposed to be bringing something different to the table. And that's the part that amazed me the most. And that they all had their specialties. And they were all supposed to come and bring the talents and the things that they had that were relevant to the table. But they couldn't even do that. They couldn't say the one who did the building, the one who did the finance, the one who had the property. We come together and we do this, because they were so busy trying to prove who was more successful. They were so busy trying to show who was the one that did the most that they couldn't come together to do the process they were supposed to do. And then later on, it was supposed to be just selling the property, and someone else was supposed to come in and do what they said they were going to do in the first place. So they could never get on one accord in one place. And I sat there and watched it, and I was like, it's such a shame to see people with so much potential, but never follow through and get the thing and the task they're supposed to do done because they're not coming together on one accord. You see it all the time. You see what we always refer to as the crabs in the barrel. One person starts to go up the ladder and do something, everybody else is pulling them back down because they want to be the one at the top. They want to be the one with the title. They want to do all that stuff instead of just coming together on one accord and getting the job done. Now, mind you, in this scripture, in Acts the 2nd chapter, they tarried for 40 days until they could get to the point that they were all on one accord. It took them 40 days to get there. But when that day was fully come, the amazing things happened. And we'll deal with that next time. But the fact that it took them time to get there is key too. Because it's not always an instant thing. But a lot of times that's what we want to see. That's what we're looking for. It has to be at that immediate gratification. We can't take the time out to get ourselves together and focus on that one thing and tarry long enough to be at that point, to be on one accord in one place. We just want to run in, do our part, and take off. We just want to run in there and say, hey, this is what I did. Celebrate me, and just run out and move on to the other thing. Not going to wait for everybody to get there on one accord. And I'm sure some people got weary because they walked in on day one of that 40 days, got down on their knees, started praying, were expecting something to happen, and it didn't happen. They had to keep tarrying. Then some other people might have gotten to that same point, but then the first ones got frustrated, so it's reset the whole thing. It took them 40 days for everybody to be on one accord in one place. There could have been distractions going on. Somebody might have came in and said, you need to come out because there's something happening at your family. And they got to go take care of that and come back. It took them 40 days to get on one accord. It wasn't an instant thing. But sometimes that's all we expect. A thing to just happen. But it took 40 days for everybody to get on one accord. And if that's the case, we need to understand that in our lives, it might take some time. It's going to take some work. To stay in that upper room for 40 days trying to get to that point, that's a lot. That's a lot. But they tarried until they all got to the same point. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, is because they were all on one accord in one place. Not all these different things going on. Not all these egos getting in the middle of it. Not all this craziness happening. But it was everybody on one accord in one place. That's something we need to strive for. And we talk about churches and you see all the division going in there. It's because everybody's not on one accord in one place. We got all those different agendas going on. We got all these different things that this one wants to do here, this one wants to do here. They're so busy fighting over positions on one side that they're not focused on what they should be focused on. And that's where we need to be. We have to understand it's not always about just you. Because this is one of the problems we have. If we could all just come together, we could resolve so many issues so much easier. And without all the turmoil and trouble that we go through. But we have to all get on one accord. We have to all be able to work and be willing to strive for that one thing. It's not all about you. It seems like today in this world, so many people are just all about themselves. People are all about, they want to be known for this, that, and the other. They want to really just say, hey, this is about me. Look what I'm able to do. Look how God is using me. Look at the things that I can accomplish. But you're so busy focused on that you're missing out on who you're supposed to be reaching in the first place. I always said I'll never fight over a position in the church because there's so many different things that need to be done and that I can do. So if I'm not in that specific position, it's all right. There's other things that I can do. Whatever I find my hands to do, I'm going to do it. And that's how we should focus on things and not be just striving. You want to be elevated to this level, then elevated to this level. And you want to be known all over the country as a great preacher or known for be all around the world as a great singer. Your task should be reaching people, trying to get to those souls that are lost, not focus on just being known. There's more to it than just that. And that's where our focus needs to be. We all got to get on one accord in one place. Again, talking about the pandemic right now. They keep saying if everybody just wears their mask and social distance, and if everybody gets the vaccine, we would be in such a great place, and this thing would end so much sooner. But because we have so many divisions, of those who believe it's real, those who don't believe it's real, those that think that it's overblown, those that think we're not doing enough, those who want to take the vaccine, those who don't want to take the vaccine. Some think the vaccine is a hoax, and some think the vaccine was rushed too fast, and they're sticking microchips in people, trying to track them. So many things that are causing us not to be able to just get through the issue because we're not all on one accord in one place. We need to learn to focus in and grab your brother and your sister and say, come on, let's go. Let's do this together. Let's get down on our knees. Let's pray to God that he gives us the path that we're supposed to go. And he sends us out to do the work that we're supposed to do. And he gives us everything we need to complete the task. Instead of all being about just you, can we get to the point where we can all work towards that and be able to say we were able to complete the task because we trusted the Lord to allow us and to get on a one accord to move in to do whatever it is he has tasked for us to do. Because it's the saddest thing, going back to that Huntsville, that loving man, watching those couples with so much potential, not be able to complete that. One of the main things I wanted to see was the work they were going to do building for the community. I haven't seen it yet. The second season that been watching is almost over. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. That's so disappointing because that's one of the things that has been always on my heart, to build housing for those who in need. And I'm thinking this is exactly what I'm going to get to see these people, these three couples complete that task, and they can't even put their personal stuff aside long enough to get it done. They are nowhere near on one accord. That's why they can't complete anything. We need to get to that point where we can get on one accord in one place. Stop all the division, the divisiveness. Everybody's worried about just wanting to be the one on top. Being on top means nothing if there's no one under you working with you towards the goal. That's just you going on a walk. That's what they say about leaders. Leaders who can't lead anybody. It's just a person going on a walk. My old pastor used to always say that. We got to get on one accord. In one place, we So much more can be accomplished if we do it together. I was talking to Mr. Brown and his wife. They own Ironworks 2 doors down from Chestnut Hill Church. And I was talking to them, it was either Thursday or Friday. I think it was Friday. And we were talking about the passing of both my parents. And they were asking me how were things going. Because they thought I don't know what, they say this every time I talk to them. You're the only child. I said, no, I have 3 sisters. They're like, you do? I said, yes, I have 3 sisters. 2 older and 1 younger. They said, well, are y'all bickering and everything, dealing with all the stuff? I was like, no, we're on the same page. We're working together to get things done. And they were like, well, that's so good, because usually when parents die or a loved one dies, that's when all the ugliness comes out. I said, no, we're working together. We're all on the same page. We're all on one accord in the same place. We know what we're working towards, and we're doing just that. It's not easy because everything wasn't set up before our parents passed, but we're working together to get to that point where things are set up like they're supposed to be. And that's how you have to do things. Because when somebody starts thinking, well, I want this, I should get this, on and on, it becomes a problem. But we're working together towards a goal. And we're doing it without bickering and fussing and fighting and people doing things behind the other's back. We're on one accord. And this is how things should be done. And this is an example of how it should be done in so many aspects of life. Because one of the things I always want to do is talk about life and living. Because sometimes we kind of miss that. We just focus on our Christian walk, but we neglect our lives outside of the church. And one of the things we need to focus on is teaching folks how to live. Jesus said, I come that you might have life and life more abundantly. So we need to focus on things other than Sunday morning messages or Sunday morning Sunday school or Bible study or whatever the case may be. We need to understand how to live in this world that we're in. We need to be able to teach folks how to manage situations outside of church. Because that's where people fall short so much. They know how to come into church, have service, then the service is over, then they walk back out into the world. The crazy world we're living in right now, and don't know how to be able to get through it. They don't know how to be able to manage things and move forward until the next Sunday. So that's one of the things we want to focus on. And that's why today I wanted to talk about just getting on one accord in one place. Again, it took them 40 days to get to that place. And there's probably so many distractions, so many things going on. And there might have been people there who weren't there for the same reason. There might have been people in there just to watch and see what's happening. But in the midst of them just sitting there trying to see what's going on, they got caught up in it. But it took 40 days for everybody to be on one accord. 40 days is what it took. So we're going to continue this next week. And Sister Karen came by to record for another event. But we talked and we said we're going to work on some more worship songs and get things back to our normal format. But I just want to leave that with you today. Acts, 2nd chapter, 1st verse. When the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all on one accord in one place. That's what we need to strive to. Stop trying to just crawl up the top by yourself. Let's work together. Let's be on one accord. Let's strive for the goals that we need to in unity and in strength. So be blessed on this week, and we will continue with the day of Pentecost next week.